Okay, starting the recording. And just so everyone knows, I'll pause it every time that there's like participant or like attendee participation so that you can feel free to keep this a safe space and, ask any questions that you want. So the attendee participation will not be like rebroadcast.
Thank you. And we will be also, if necessary, we will be, because obviously we keep forgetting to do things. So if we do forget and we do record something, we will edit that out before the replay is shared. So that's to maintain your privacy and confidentiality. Okay, Ali, Shane said, yes, we can move forward. Let's begin by doing another quick exercise. Now, you already warmed up to Slido. If you can use the QR code, great. If not, then go to www.slido.com and use hashtag skills to answer this question. So in a word or in a short phrase, tell us how you feel about landing a job outside of academia. Not about leaving academia, but about landing a job outside of academia. You can give as many responses as you would like. I love that excitement is showing up right now, but I'm also seeing the difficult, the unsure, the overwhelmed, the anxiety, the nerves, money. Okay, somebody's like, you're making me think of Donald Duck with the dollar signs right now. Unprepared, nervous, difficult, unsure, lack of skills, desperate. If you are happy to leave, if you're feeling extremely desperate or unhappy or in any other way feeling like you're struggling and overwhelmed, one of the top things, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but Andy is absolutely phenomenal, and he is giving away one-on-ones for each and every one of you. So please reach out to him. We'll be providing links at the end of the session for how you can schedule time with him, but he's always open to connecting. So connect with him on LinkedIn, connect with him through our website. There are many, many ways to do so. And he really is phenomenal, as you'll hear again and again from the rest of our team as well. So thank you so much for sharing how you're feeling. What excites me is that all of you are excited and looking forward to your transition. At the same time, definitely many of you are feeling unprepared, you're feeling nervous, you think that it's difficult and overwhelming. And our aim today is to help you shift completely from the feeling, finding it difficult, finding it nerve-wracking, finding it frustrating or confusing, to being able to take action and do so confidently. And the 4 skills that we will be sharing are the ones that enabled us to navigate our transitions and build our careers. And we firmly believe that they'll help you do the same, because as current or ex-postdocs, or as coaches to PhDs, we have all either walked in your shoes or we have a deep understanding of the challenges that you are facing. So if you are wondering who we are, Ali, we can introduce ourselves. Let me introduce you to the Profound team. So I'm Shalini. Today, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I am an advisory board member for a nonprofit. I am a business author. I advise CEOs. I'm an educator sometimes. Basically, I do whatever I feel like doing, and I make my living doing it. But in a previous life, I was an aspiring X-ray crystallographer who nearly quit the program. After getting a second chance, where I joined a new lab, started my project, PhD project from scratch, and was able to make a success of it with a very supportive advisor and team, it became my passion to help and support other PhDs. So I've been doing that since 2008 myself. So when I met my brilliant team, Shane, who you've heard of already, Ali, who is helping us with the slides, and Andy, who is very, very curious about who learned about us from the newsletters, and are very passionate about disrupting the status quo, we co-founded Profound to bridge the gap between academia and the rest of the world. Now, Shane and Alyssa are ex-postdocs like me. They will be introduced, well, Shane will be introducing himself. Alyssa is out having way too much fun to bother being here today. But she has done a lot of the work that you'll be seeing today, and Andy will be introducing her. Ali is a current postdoc, and Andy is an experienced career advisor who has been supporting PhDs for nearly a decade as well. So we've seen what's being done and what works, and we've seen what doesn't work, and we have created something unique. Ali, if you could move to the next slide. Now, at its core, Profound is a community that has been designed with you in mind. It is not a space where we talk at you. So we will hope that we're going to ask you to keep engaging with us through the chat and through other means, including having conversations with us. But the idea is really to build a space where we learn from each other and grow together so we can uncover each of your unique possibilities so you can build your dream career. The idea is not for you to become me. The idea is for you to be you. Now, tall claims are easy to make, right? So let's test it. Open up your chats one more time. And if any of these questions are on your mind or something similar to these questions is on your mind, give me a yes in the chat, please. All right, I'm seeing a bunch of yeses floating in. Thank you so much for responding. Ali, if we could show them how we are actually responding to this. One of the biggest issues that I faced as a grad student and as a postdoc, thinking about what I wanted to do next, because I knew I didn't want to be in academia, was what are my options? And all of the workshops and talks that I went to, they seemed very generic. So what Profound does is gives you confidential, one-on-one tailored advice. This is where Andy comes in. You are asking, what skills do I need? We will start some of that today, and we'll continue that. You're asking, how do I develop these skills? And we know that the best way to learn something is by doing it again, and then doing it better each and every time. So in every one of our workshops, we help you practice. We create opportunities for you to do things. So Andy's going to hate me if I don't say this, but it's a teaser. We're going to learn a lot more about it later, but one of the core skills is storytelling. And telling your story is immensely powerful. So today you can have a lot of fun with each other in a safe space, actually telling your stories and sharing it with each other. And in future sessions that we will be hosting throughout the fall, you will get to share those stories with PhDs who are currently in industry, who can give you feedback and tell you whether you're improving or not and how they can help you. So that's part of what we're doing as well, building a community where you can ask and answer questions, where you can support each other, get support from others, and so on. And the final questions. Will I get hired? If you do your part, we'll do ours. We have every intention of actually introducing you with employers. And that's the secret of how we're truly, truly different. Profound is going to be supported by employers who want to hire PhDs. So you don't ever have to pay a dime for the sessions, for the trainings, for anything that we are describing to you or will be describing to you today. All of that will be supported by entrepreneurs, us, and by employers in future. And so with that, keep your eye out. At the end of the session, we will be sharing all of the links of how you can get access to many of these things and what you can do next and so on and so forth. So we don't like to spam people. We will need you to opt in at the end of the session before we share the links with you, but hang on tight for that. With that, I shall introduce you briefly to our Get Unstuck framework, which helped all of us actually move forward through the multiple transitions in our careers. There are 4 elements to it. Those are the 4 top skills. And Shane is going to get you started with the first. Shane, all yours.
Sorry, I panicked for a second because I forgot where the unmute button was on Zoom. Okay, you can see our list of 4 skills here. I'm going to talk a little bit about knowing yourself. And you can see this is the first one we're talking about. As you can see from the diagram, it's kind of, they're all connected. You don't necessarily have to start here. And I'm starting with this because this was actually probably the last skill I got to. And I'll sort of tell you why it's a problem for me, why it was a problem for me. So when I was finishing graduate school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do. I knew I didn't want to be a professor. I thought I did when I started graduate school, but then I saw that all my advisor did was write grants, and I actually hate doing that. So I had a little midlife crisis, I guess, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I did all the things you're supposed to do. I filled out my individual development plan. I did a lot of informational interviews and networking, trying to figure out what I thought I might want to do, talking to people, identifying people who had the positions I thought I might want, reaching out to them on LinkedIn, talking to them. I thought I might want to do data science. I thought I might want to do technical services kind of stuff. But nothing really seemed to stick or feel right. And then eventually I sort of accidentally ended up in a career development workshop that Andy was teaching. And we went through again all of these things. We went through how to network better, doing informational interviews better, what questions to ask, what to look for, what to think about. And I still couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. None of these positions still really felt right. And then Andy said something which sort of finally made sense to me. He said, if after going through all of this, you still can't think of anything you want to do, then you might be depressed. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. I mean, I knew it was something that I struggled with. It's something that I've, gotten help for, and it's better now. But I never contemplated that could be a reason why I was struggling to identify what I wanted to do professionally. And it was sort of an answer. It didn't, I guess, really help in the moment, but it helped me over time understand sort of what was so difficult. And I guess the moral of this story is we have a framework that we've developed, and we think it works for most people, but you still have to tailor it sort of to your individual circumstances. It's not going to be a one size fits all thing. So you definitely have to determine what works for you. Another thing that was important here was sort of seeking feedback actively. So it's not, after all of this introspection, I still didn't really figure it out by myself. It's, in hindsight, not a really, difficult thing to see, right? But it just took sort of somebody kind of pointing it out a little bit or nudging me in the right direction. And then the final thing is just, ask for help shamelessly. It's, not that you should be ashamed of having mental health struggles. A lot of people in academia do. But even if you were ashamed of whatever you need help with, it's still, you're better off asking for help. So definitely reach out. If you're struggling with the same issues, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not sure that I'll be any help, but I'm happy to talk. Or you can reach out to any of us, I'm sure, happy to talk about whatever your unique situation might be. Yeah, and I think that's it. Sorry, I might have rushed through that because I was worried about taking too long. And now I have the opposite problem. So don't get it perfect the first time either. But that is sort of, in a nutshell, what I learned from my experience.
Thanks, Shane. Do you want to take it away on behalf of Alyssa here?
Sure. Alyssa can't be here today because she's on a bullet train right now in Japan. She's got a new gig, research gig in Japan, and off. So I'll tell her career story as she kind of related to me. Maybe you can learn a little bit about someone by the pets that they keep. Alyssa has ferrets who are super curious and interested in everything. And like her pets, Alyssa is interested in everything: coding, artificial intelligence, the mathematics of living systems, cryptocurrency. I mean, she's into it all. And specifically interested in, on the academic side, she's a postdoctoral fellow at the Morgridge Institute and on sabbatical right now in Japan, and a serial entrepreneur with our group and others. Exploring multiple career interests is Alyssa's secret sauce, and something that we suggest all PhDs do. But Alyssa has not always been comfortable with her career prospects, because in fact, having a lot of interests and being wicked smart like she is can lead to some paralysis. Like, am I doing the right thing? And kind of an either or thing. Should I do this or that? Until she got stuck, Alyssa felt a little bit like a caged ferret, and in her academic lab, because in her mind it only provided one outlet for her interests, and that's the mathematical models for biosystems. So she asked me to share how she was able to kind of safely explore the world of opportunities by following her many interests. And she said a major key to that is in embracing change and uncertainty. There's no certainty that your postdoc will lead to a career anywhere. She embraced that right away. And the changes that she embraced were mostly mindset shifts. The first mindset shift was she reimagined her academic postdoc as a learning platform, and her affiliation at prestigious University of Wisconsin as a door opener. Then she stopped thinking about traditional science roles in the way that postdocs are kind of supposed to. Another thing that she did is that she trusted that her skills and abilities and enthusiasm, most of all, would carry her through the rigors of working in an academic lab. And she adopted an attitude that if she got things done in her lab, did her due diligence, she would be free to apply her ideas to other causes in other venues. And one thing that's certain is Alyssa effectively combines work with pleasure. The example of Japan is an obvious one. Her Twitter feed shows that she's having a good time in addition to working hard. Most importantly, she decided to genuinely have fun and stop worrying about the practicalities of landing a job after academic training, and think more about what she can do right now, because in her words, the future's never certain. Other practical suggestion that she had for grad students and postdocs is to diversify the people that you hang out with. And in her case, a practical example of that was early on getting involved in the UW-Madison Postdoctoral Association and leveraging that involvement to expand to the Big Ten postdoctoral associations and helping them with projects, career development related projects, and then eventually to us. And finally, and interesting for you all, Alyssa and Shane are the ones who are designing our Profound Career Labs, which is designed to be a safe community for us all to diversify who we're thinking about our careers with. And it's my sincere hope that you get a chance to meet her in one of those forums or in our programming elsewhere, because she really does have a long runway ahead of her and has lots to share about her path with you all.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy. I really hope, I will second, I really hope you all get a chances to meet Alyssa, because the energy that Alyssa brings is fantastic. So hearing more of her story, I would totally recommend. In the meantime, I'll share a little bit about my story. So like Shalini said, I'm a postdoc at University of Wisconsin in Madison. And I want to share a little bit about how I found this postdoc and kind of how I landed here. It starts, I went to a conference. I was in grad school, third or fourth year, and I went to one of those big, massive conferences that has lots of topics going on. And so I did my own presentation, and then I was sitting in talks that were similar to what I was working on. And I just was kind of having this, man, I don't know that this is what I want to, the subject matter I want to pursue for the rest of my life, like the rest of my career. And so I decided, I'll just go to talks that are like maybe peripherally related, or they just sound interesting or whatever. I'll just kind of broaden where I'm at, my horizons here. And so I found myself wandering into a talk about medical physics. And the professor from UW was talking, and I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is my thing. This is what I want to pursue. This is amazing. I was so excited. And I think, like, looking back now, I was excited not only about the subject matter because it really spoke to me, but also because this professor was such a good storyteller. He told like the story of each project that his lab was working on, and each member of the lab, and kind of the journey of like a medical physics basic research project from an idea into this like research development into the clinic, into potential impact on patients. And I was so blown away. At the time, I certainly didn't think about it as like, oh, wow, he's a great storyteller. But now that I work with him, spoiler alert on my story there, but so now that I work with him, I realize how important being a good storyteller is for your science communication, but also to my self-promotion, my networking skills. Being a good storyteller and being able to share your own story is just a really, really powerful skill in a lot of aspects of your career and your life. And so kind of key takeaways. So to be a good storyteller, I realized that I really had to reflect on my past career. I had to think long and hard about how I got to where I am and what got me there, what didn't. And so I'd recommend doing that for yourself. Like make a physical list of what influenced you to get to where you are, what you've tried that worked, what you've tried that didn't, and kind of reflect on how you got here. Being the recipient of that kind of story, it totally changed my career trajectory. And so now I want to become good at telling that type of story and telling it well. And so that requires, firstly, a lot of reflection, and it also requires learning how to put that together into a coherent story and how to tell it well. And so something you can do to learn how to do that is join us for a workshop on October 4th. Where we'll kind of teach you some of those skills. So I would take action now and start reflecting on your own kind of story, and then come learn how to put that together and how to tell it really well in this workshop with us. The last thing is practice. You got to build that storytelling muscle. So practice it in every networking interaction you have. When you go to virtual events, turn your video on and try telling your story. You can do it in the rooms today. So really, I challenge you guys to really just try it, because this is a safe space, and practicing telling your stories is really important for getting good at that. So I'll hand it over to Andy for our last story here.
Great, thanks. So my story is about connecting with others, and it's an early career story for me. I'm in my late career now, but I've spent most of my career helping people with their careers, most recently with higher education, with highly educated people at research institutions. But going way back to the 90s, I worked in welfare to work programs in Chicago. And after several years working in well-meaning but conceptually flawed social programs, I decided it's a little bit crazy to ask people who have very little education and low skill to go to work without offering them some training first. The work no longer suited my values, and I needed to change. And my career idea was, it didn't seem like a big stretch to me that I could provide career advice at a community college. So there's my career idea. And I began applying for jobs knowing that my work experience was not only suitable for that kind of work, but really optimal for that, for those career advisor roles at those institutions. Well, months after applying and not getting any interviews, I realized something's wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I realized I probably need to connect with some people working in the field and figure out how it was. So my plan was to do research at a major conference that's designed for people in the helping professions, like counseling. Pretty naive at the time, pretty young, early career. I decided that I would go to the American Psychological Association's national conference and meet the people that would help me get a job at a community college. And to do that, I would drive to Atlanta and meet rooms and rooms full of career development people. So that was the plan, a plan. A tip is to make space for unexpected things to happen and to go out there and try stuff. Well, when I got to the conference, I found out that the APA is an enormous organization with 54 divisions serving both practitioners and scholars. And the conference catalog was nearly an inch thick with, programming after programming all over the place. And how in the world was I going to meet anyone at such an overwhelming venue? It turned out that there was a group. I scoured the catalog and I found a group that I didn't even know existed. And that group was the group that supports workforce development people like me. And so I figured I'd go to that meeting and at least find out what was wrong with welfare to work programs back in the 90s. And that would be my success for the whole thing. I kind of given up the idea of learning about, being a career counselor at a community college. Well, I went to the meeting, found the room across, it was in the Georgia Dome. I scurried over there, and it turned out to be a business meeting. And I was a stranger walking into a group of people who really knew each other rather intimately and had been working together for decades. I realized immediately that I was not in the right spot and was pretty embarrassed. And I was ready to kind of awkwardly bolt for the door and get the heck out of there. But the speaker at the podium stopped her talk, noticed that I was at the door, and welcomed me in. And in the end of that meeting, I was able to get career advice from a whole room full of really dedicated workforce development people. And they were kind of impressed with my willingness to stretch myself, and therefore really kind of gave me the full treatment. Now, some would say I got kind of lucky there, but I would later learn as a career development advisor that I was putting myself in an excellent position to get lucky by just showing up at the right places. And so that's a tip. Make room for unexpected things and put yourself in position where lucky things can happen to you. And then the final tip that we have for you is kind of lowering the activation energy, some scientific terms from my colleagues. What does that mean for me? Well, at the time I did something instinctual about lowering the activation energy. Most of the jobs that I was looking for required master's degree, which I did not have. And I could have easily said, well, I'm going to get a master's degree, therefore I can work as a career development counselor at a community college. But I did something which is lower stakes, and that was, let's check it out first at a conference. And if I didn't have a good time at the conference, I could have a really good vacation in Atlanta. So an example of kind of lowering the stakes and being open to outcomes that you're not really sure will happen, not expecting them. So there's my my little connection story for you all from my early career.
It's almost time for breakout rooms. So while Andy is talking about connecting with others, I wanted to pop in this meme about staring at the computer screen versus engaging in conversation, and why can't we do both today? So Shane, you want to summarize for us?
Yeah, so I think if you take, I guess, one thing away, the most important thing is get started sort of somewhere. We've put some thought into this framework, and it's really kind of, I don't really want to say stolen, but that's the word that's coming to mind right now. But it's basically looks like if you did entrepreneurship, there's this cycle of you interview people and then you figure out if your product solves that problem, and then you iterate on the solution until it gets better. So each sort of time in this iterative cycle is an experiment, and slowly you sort of make sort of progress towards the sort of ultimate truth. It was inspired, yes, not stolen, inspired. So the most important part is getting started somewhere, and then you start to make progress as you work through this framework. So now, before we send you off into breakout rooms to practice with telling your story, does anybody have any questions for us right now?
Feel free to put your questions in the chat and we will answer what we can now. And there will be others, more detailed tactical responses that you'll get throughout the workshops that we will be hosting through the end of this year. So we'll let you know when those are happening and how you can sign up for them and all of those details after we come back from the breakout rooms. Meanwhile, Ali, next page, please. Meanwhile, take a moment, think about what you've heard, what has resonated with you, which stories have resonated, which parts of the Get Unstuck framework has resonated with you, and make this an opportunity to have some fun with the folks in the room. Like most of us here are either PhDs, getting a graduate degree, doing a postdoc, thinking about careers outside of academia, and there are a few career coaches in the room as well. All you need to do, very simple, say hi and then find out, somebody might be in the city that you want to work at. Somebody might be working on a project that you absolutely want to be working on. It's a very short breakout, I believe, Ali. What do we have? About 10 minutes. Meet each other, start building those relationships that will help you and start practicing your stories, because in the future sessions, you will be meeting with people from industry and they will want to know who you are, because when we or they want to recommend you to their hiring managers, they kind of need to know you in order to do that. So take this opportunity, do a little bit of say hello to each other, share your story, talk about what you learned or what resonated, or anything else. The hiring process is different in every company and can be confusing, but your process of deciding what your career should be and how you should go about landing it should not be confusing, right? That's the part that you can control. We can't tell, well, we can, some of us can, some of us do, but they may or may not listen. A company will do things based on what they feel they need to do in order to achieve their goals. What you need to do is figure out what career is going to make you happy and make you successful and fulfill your purpose while living, giving you the lifestyle and the life that you want. And that process is where we want to help you gain clarity. So when you do apply for jobs, when you do want to work for a particular company, you are working for and you are applying to companies that actually align with what you're trying to build, instead of saying, you know what, yes, there are, 1 million companies in the world. Do you need to learn the hiring process of 1 million companies? No, you only need to understand how to get through to the people making decisions in the companies that are solving the problems that you want, where you can do the work that you want and live to the purpose that you have, right? So that with every one of those ifs, you end up trimming from 1 million to 500,000 to 100,000 to 50,000 to 5,000 and so on and so forth. So the better you know yourself, and this is going back to our framework, the better you know yourself, the smaller the group of companies will be that you will be applying for, the better you understand them, and that's where we can come in and help a lot more, is where, and so can other experts that we bring in. This is why we are partnering with employers, so they can come and tell you all of the stuff that they can't publicly share, but they can tell in a meeting like this, which won't be recorded. And when you do that exploring the world part of it, that's when you're able to match who you are and what you want with the places that are going to allow you to do that. And in order to find that match, you need to share your story. And they need to hear it and find that match and be able to understand how those two work together. That's when the magic happens, right? And a lot of it is based on the foundation of connecting with people. So thank you all for staying, for participating, and for sharing with us what your takeaway is. And now it's my turn to give you what we promised, right, Ali? Oh, it's not yet my time to share. Ali wants you to tell us if you're feeling differently or the same. Use words or short phrases to describe how you feel about landing your dream job outside of academia at this point. I'm seeing a few more hopeful, few more words that are hopeful, encouraged, optimistic, but unsure is obviously still pretty big. Scared and excited at the same time. explorative, confident. I love confident. Interested in learning more. Yes, we have an entire lineup of conversations and events where you can learn more.
And for those of you who are still unsure, I have, I guess, one tidbit of good news that somehow gets lost. So the good news is that you're extremely unlikely to end up being unemployed with a PhD. So the average unemployment of PhD holders over the last 20 years, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, at least is around 1%. So you're unlikely to need unemployment or anything. You know, the worst case scenario is you'll have a job that you're not super excited about, I guess, is probably the worst case you'll end up with, which isn't great. You know, that's what we're sort of here for. We're here to help you find something that you want to do. But I think a lot of people are unnecessarily afraid. The future is confusing and the process is difficult and inefficient. But I think the fear is generally overblown when we talk about this.
Thank you so much for that, Shane. I would also say that if you have enough now, if you need a job tomorrow, it's a different matter. You could end up in that scenario that Shane described, where you are in a job that you're not as excited about as you could be. But if you have anything between 3 months or more, and you follow the process that we're describing, the probability is very high that you will land a job that you're at least somewhat excited about. I mean, Shane, Shane is in a job that I think he's somewhat excited about, aren't you, Shane?
Yeah. To talk about the confusing and inefficiency, it was basically by accident. I kept getting to the 4th round of interviews and then not getting called back. So I was like, oh, I must be doing a bad job at interviews. So I just started doing a lot of interviews to practice. And I was just applying to positions actually that I was marginally qualified for just because I wanted to practice interviewing. And on one of those, the CEO reached back out to me and he's like, you're not really you're not a good fit for this position, but we're starting a new, like a new unit, starting a new avenue for the company. We're expanding into a new area, and we'd like you to lead that. So that's, I guess, maybe a testament of how inefficient and confusing it is, that sometimes what you want to do, you stumble into by accident. And maybe that's just my personal brand of doing things accidentally succeeding. But the inefficiency and confusion is real for sure.
So this is something that you'll start to notice if you hang out with us enough. Whatever Shane says, I have an opposite perspective and vice versa. So he just gave you the pessimist's view about how confusing it is and whatever. But I don't know how many of you remember Andy speaking about putting yourself in places where you can get lucky. And I'm in that camp where the more effort you put in, the luckier you get. The eureka moment would not have happened if Archimedes wasn't already thinking about how to solve the problem and working on it. Whatchamacallit, who's the benzene dude? I've forgotten. Oh my God, I've been away from science too long. The benzene dude wouldn't have been dreaming of children running, playing in rings if he hadn't been trying to solve that problem. If you focus on and use your brain and you're doing the work, you will put yourself in situations where you get lucky, where accidental success happens. So is there luck involved to a certain extent? Yes, but can you change the proportion of luck that you have access to? Also, and yes. So the unsure part of it, some of us remain unsure for the rest of our lives, I tell you. That's why I'm doing so many things. I wake up one morning and I see shiny object. This is what I want to do, and I do it. It helps because as a scientist, I just say, it's an experiment. Either the hypothesis will be proven or it'll be disproven, and then I'll do the next fun thing. So with that, here's the promised goodies, because we only have 3 minutes. So I'm going to rush through this. Keep your cell phones ready, because you're going to get QR codes and you're going to get links. The good news is that if you opt in now by saying yes in the chat, we will be free to email you all of this information. So go ahead and put in a yes if you want us to email you all of the information that we're going to be sharing now. Okay, Ali, okay, perfect. If you want to set up a one-on-one with Andy, this is the QR code that takes you directly to the scheduling with Andy. He will chat with you and he will help you. And I think there's at least one Lisa, do you mind just taking 30 seconds and sharing how chatting with Andy helped you? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you did say you'd help.
If you can give me 2 minutes, I'm just chewing.
Okay, Lisa will help us wrap up in 2 minutes. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Next slide, Ali. We're rushing through this, but you will get this in your email. What skills do I need? This is the checklist that we will be sharing with you. It includes all of the bullets that we shared, but also the details behind specific tests and assessments and so on and so forth that you can actually do to help you go through that framework. Next. This is our events page. We have a whole lineup of events coming up, almost something every week, but these are the ones which help you develop skills. October 4th, mark your calendars, learn to tell your story. November 8th, how people are using their PhDs to solve problems in industry. November 22nd, learn how to network effectively. And December 6th, you'll actually get to round robin practice your stories and connect with industry experts. So people in industry who are using their PhDs will be available to chat with you. What is the difference between individual career advising and intake for the appointment with Andy? The individual career advising is Andy at the moment. Someday it might be different, but right now that's Andy. There is no difference. Save the date for September 22nd. It's next Thursday. Is it Thursday? Okay, yes. It's Thursday at 11 Central Time, United States. That's when we will be having a fireside chat with Anthony Ruth. He is currently working with Cubic PV. He is an engineer, if I'm not mistaken, and he does cool stuff with solar panels. So come for September 22nd, but you will also get to meet with and hear from industry experts on October 11th, where we will be talking about how you can figure out which employers are the right ones for you. October 25th, more fireside chats with recovering academics. We'll let you know who the guests are. Stay tuned to the events page. And then December 6th, again, is that event where you get to talk to many of these experts and interact with them and practice your stories. So those are all of the cool things that are coming up. For everyone who said yes and opted in, you will be receiving an email with all of this and the checklist. Have I forgotten anything, team? Profound Career Labs. This is the coolest thing. Shane, do you want to chat about this since you're building it?
Sure.
Okay.
So we said one of the things is connecting with others. So we reaching out and connecting with people on LinkedIn is hit and miss and kind of nerve-wracking and frustrating because often people just don't get back to you. So we wanted to create a separate space where you can find people who have sort of basically signaled a willingness to be that person for you to talk with and get sort of this independent feedback from and collaboration with while you're all going through this process sort of together. So I think I just dropped the link in the chat, or you can use the QR code to come join this sort of platform social network thing that we're currently building for us all to sort of make progress together as we move forward with our careers.
A couple of cool spaces in the Career Labs. One of them is the Ask Anything space, where you can actually jump in and pretty much ask anything, and somebody or the other will respond. Sometimes it's going to be us, and we are very, very hopeful that sometimes it'll be you, if you have the experience and expertise to actually answer that question. And when we say expertise, all we mean is you've done it before, it worked for you. That's it. So don't feel like you need a PhD to answer every question. You do need a PhD though, right? To be part of Profound. Okay, never mind. The other cool space is career tips, even if I do say so myself, because eventually we'll be having folks like Chris, who is here, and Keaton, who was here with us a while ago, sharing tips with us. At least we'll be inviting them to, they haven't said yes yet, so don't hold them to it, but we will try and get them to share their wisdom with all of you as well. What else do we have, Ali, for our folks?
Excuse me, Shalini, I
Yes.
could share a
now.
little bit if you want. Yes.
Yes, go for it.
I stopped
for it.
eating. Well, of course, I didn't prepare anything because I wasn't planning on doing this. So I'll just say that I started taking the one-on-one sessions with Andy a couple months ago when I was like the most unstuck in my career. I come from Argentina and I've been here almost 2 years already at University of Chicago. I live in Chicago, and I wasn't kind of finding myself. Plus, I had discovered a couple months earlier that I had ADHD. I have ADHD, so it was like a huge amount of changes in my life, just all at once. So finding Andy, he also shared a lot of his experiences with me, and it has been a lot of help. He helped me by giving examples or by making small suggestions. He helped me make a lot of changes that at the very least have improved my confidence, and by improving my confidence, I had my eyes open to search for other things or for other options that maybe I wasn't considering for myself, So I don't know if that makes any sense, but thank you, Andy. Thank you a lot. I appreciate it a lot. I've told you this before, but I'm talking now, so I just take the opportunity to thank you in front of everyone else. And yeah, I would use every single tool that you guys offer, and I would support you guys the same way you have supported me. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for that. We're glad that we are able to help you and support you. And the same same holds true for everyone else in the room and those who reach out. If you know others who need help and support, like tell them about us. Our doors are open to all PhDs. And really Lisa speaks, I mean, the fact that she stepped up and, demonstrate the courage to share her story here is the level of confidence that we hope all of you will have so that you can share your stories with folks who are looking to hire PhDs, because we know and we believe that you have what it takes to actually contribute and solve the problems. Like our website, I mean, I know it's outdated already because things move so fast, but when we first started out, we were like, there are so many big problems and it's the PhDs who can solve them. And yet, because we have imposter syndrome, or because we are feeling less than confident, or we're confused, we're not doing the work that we were meant to be doing, or solving the problems that only we can solve. And that's why we exist. Like our entire existence is so you can solve the problems that you were meant to solve and contribute in the ways that you're meant to contribute to this world. So with that, I hope that you got all the links, or at least some of them. I know we'll be emailing you the chats and so on. Come to our events, continue to connect with us, join Career Labs, and help support each other.
Yeah, we really hope we'll see lots of you on Career Labs. We'll put up a space where you can provide feedback on this event. If there's any questions you're left with or anything like that, we're happy to answer quickly on Career Labs and maybe design some future events around those questions if lots of people have them. So any feedback is welcome. And so we hope we'll see you guys around at future events and on Career Labs and lots of good things.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
coming.
everyone. Thank you for spending your time with us.